I've had a few remarks saying that I skipped over the hospital thing a little bit too quick. I mean, 16 weeks is it's over 100 days. So let's have another look. It was pretty boring. I'll go through a normal day and a few highlights of things that happened while I was there. Here we go. I've made a few notes so we get it right. Basically, we used to wake up, or we were woken up at 6 a.m. and that was so that we could be introduced to the day shift coming on at 7 o'clock. Having a quick wash, cup of tea, waiting for 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, on came the day shift. They would check everything was all right and which patients were probably going to be discharged that day, or if anybody had got to have a special treatment. 8 o'clock was breakfast. Pretty boring. It's nearly always cereal, but that's the start of the day. And then there was the barber. The barber came round. He had a little electric shaver, and he went from one patient after another, just blowing his shaver and cleaning it out. Can you imagine that today? I was only 19, so I had to have a shave once a week. So it was something to look forward to, but it did drag out a bit. Then 9 a.m. we'd have a proper bed bath. So somebody would come in, you'd have a wash all over, and they'd change the sheets. Proper bed bath. We used to pull the leg of all the different nurses at one time or other. I mean, apart from our legs being bended, we weren't ill. I remember one nurse come in to give me a bed bath, and used to draw the curtains round and bowl of water, wash it all over. But this time she came in, she looked outside the curtains left and right, came in, I said something cheeky, and she just threw the whole lot at me. I was soaked from head to foot. Imagine doing that today. I think it would be sackable offence probably. But I was going to get my bed changed and cleaned anyway, but it did make me quieten down for a little bit. There were a lot of comical moments and things that happened in hospital, but there was a lot of boring times in between. But also the people who were a long stay in hospital, we had to have surgical spirits rubbed on parts and areas that would probably get bed sores. So elbows, back of legs, backside. After that was over, 10 a.m. it was the newspapers came round just before 10 a.m. If you wanted something special, then you'd got to order it, and that took a few days. Magazines, etc. Today's papers, yes. Then the doctors' rounds. Usually the junior doctors, they would come round with the nurse, but for the long term, like myself and Baldy in the next bed, 16 weeks, we saw a specialist about once a week. After that, we'd get 11 o'clock. So that would be a nice cup of tea, rosé, and usually a biscuit. After that, it was sitting around waiting for 12 o'clock, excitement, dinner. One thing used to make me smile about that, there was a small slip of paper came round when you had your meal, and you had to order what you wanted the next day. That's fine and good, but if you were being discharged, you still had to order for the next person that was going to be in that bed. So whether he liked what you'd order him or not, I don't know, but at least he would have a meal. Then comes 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, usually siesta. It's a long while since 6 a.m. when we woke up. You're waiting then, basically pretty laborious for visiting time, which was 2 till 4. I didn't get many visitors, so I used to pretend I was asleep. It was quite a lonely period, that little bit. It wasn't so lonely at night. I don't know exactly why. Making notes is a good idea, but it feels a little bit like Jackanory. Right. Other things that happen. One particular incident always makes me smile when I think about it. We started throwing paper aeroplanes, you know, the long little darts, and writing messages, as you do, chucking it across the other side of the room. And then we came up with the grand idea of filling them with pepper. This would make the person opposite sneeze. And that went on quite some time. It was quite good until I got hit in the forehead with one of these paper darts. Pepper everywhere. My eyes were streaming. We got told off, yes, as you do, by sister. And a lovely nurse came in and started to bathe my eyes. And she was very pretty. It should have only taken about 10 minutes to clear my eyes. But I kept her there for half an hour. They were cleared after about 5, actually. 4 o'clock, another cup of Rosalie and a biscuit, sometimes a sandwich. Then we'd have another nap. What else is there to do in hospital? I did get my guitar smuggled in, and I used to try and tune it, much to the other patients' annoyance. After a couple of days, it went missing magically. All I had was a set of pitch pipes to try and tune my guitar. I soon learnt to use it very quickly. After 4:30 I think it was, we'd have something light to eat, usually fruit, cream, ice cream, cup of tea, and then it would be another quick spruce up for the evening time, 7 o'clock visitors. I sometimes used to get visitors, usually from the local Methodist church. Some kind soul would come in and try to cheer me up, thank goodness. Television after that, once they'd gone, was pretty rubbish. I mean, it was soaps. I was a young man, there's no way I'm going to be interested in soaps. Why do we call them soaps? Apparently soaps is because that's the advertising revenue came from soap companies to make these little soap operas, as you call them. There was a radio. I could listen to the radio, and that was really weird. Basically, it was attached to the wall, and it was a small plastic tube. There was no wires, connectors, earphones, and the sound came down these plastic tubes on either side. It was okay for Saturday afternoon, the local football team that was coming from the stadium in Ipswich, so we did get that. After that, so we're talking 9 o'clock now, time for bed. It's a long day. Then it would be just an evening drink, tablets, and off we would go to sleep. Another comical moment. Why do people have accidents in the middle of the night and then end up in hospital at about 3 in the morning? There was a guy who'd actually fallen through a plate glass window and lacerated his arm pretty badly, an Irishman. And they were trying to get him to settle down. 2 or 3 nurses round his bed, and he wouldn't take this Valium. And everybody else was awake by now, clashing and banging and shouting going on. He wasn't going to take it. I asked the nurse what was the problem, who he was. I said, what was his name? She said, Patrick, I think it was, or something like that. So I said, I'll have a go. What are you going to do? She can't even get out of bed. Leave it with me. So I shouted, Paddy, is that you? Yes, who's that? I said, it's Michael. I said, we've had enough of this place. Would you drink up? We're going home. Right, he says. Straight away down his Valium. And that was it. Yeah, he went straight to sleep. Nurse said, we would have never have thought of that. I thought, well, somebody had got to. We wanted to get back to sleep. Anyway, that was a comical moment. That was usually a typical day in hospital. One thing I must mention, and that is the telephone trolley. Obviously, no mobile phones. How I used to communicate, somebody you would have to book the telephone trolley. It was a large trolley pushed round, took sixpences, and a long lead would click into somewhere in the ward, and you could have a little chat to those at home or people, friends nearby, whatever. I've never seen one since. They were of their time and just quickly faded away. But an interesting little unit. It kept me in communication with the rest of the world. What about photography, I hear you shout? Well, I think that's what you're shouting. No, seriously. Yes, photography does start seriously once I get back home. Once I get my hands on the insurance money, which was a tidy sum, a lump sum, I was able to go to college, buy decent cameras, buy some transport. Life changed then. If you want to know where this story is going, please subscribe. And if you liked it, give us a tick. If you didn't, don't watch the next one. After being at home for a short while after being in hospital, I decided I'd have another go at getting this old scooter of mine going. It was a bit old ropey scooter. I paid about 15 quid for it in them days. It did go, it was tax insured. It was a means of transport, but I wasn't very good on it. Invariably I would come off going round bends, scratch up the side panels and try to straighten up the crash bars. After one such event, my stepfather, I think that was it, the last straw as far as he was concerned. I came home one day and it had gone. Been stolen, obviously, or hidden away, so I couldn't have it. It took a little while to find out what had happened to it. I was down the cafe. We used to frequent a bus station cafe, most of the mods, frequently. And one of the lads said he'd seen a scooter or something resembling a scooter in a skip, and it was that Tungstens, they used to make batteries in Market Harborough, and they had two large skips outside that all their steel and waste products used to go in. So gleefully everybody jumped on their bikes and away we went, and true enough, when we got there it was in a sorry state. It didn't really resemble a scooter anymore. It was smashed to ribbons. All the electrics had been pulled out, everything, the glass had been all broken in the headlamps. I was quite put out, and well, I suppose at the time I may even have been angry, but it had happened. Obviously, my stepfather said he'd done it. Thinking back on it, I wonder how he did it. I don't think he would have taken it up to Tungstens and then started dismantling it and throwing it in the bin, because somebody would have spotted him. I think he probably did it in the dead of night, having smashed it up and then taken it up in a wheelbarrow and put it in bit by bit. Do I blame him? Probably not really. He was a man of his time, and men were men, used to go down the pub, and that was that really. There was a lack of communication between the two of us. I never sat down to have a chat about anything in life with him. If he was alive today, we'd probably have a good old laugh about how he did it and why he did it, and we'd have a pint. I'm glad I'm not just talking to myself and somebody out there's listening. Hey, see you soon. More photography next time, I promise.